It's okay.
Got it, right?
I hope so. Okay,
Interesting.
let's start. Okay. So how's Cursor been?
Cursor has been probably one of the best things that happened in humanity. Undoubtedly. And no wonder it is one of the most valued companies right now. You know, they had a $9 billion valuation.
I didn't know that.
I think right after they got again quickest ARR.
$100 million,
$100 million in ARR, insane.
In just a few months.
Just a few months. I think recently, I don't remember why they got the valuation done. It was for something. I don't think they were trying to sell or anything, but very recently, for some reason, they did, and $9 billion.
There was some news that OpenAI was trying to acquire them, but that failed, and then they acquired Windsurf.
And they acquired Windsurf.
For how much?
$3 billion.
Only
$3 billion. Dude, how do you just wake up and decide, yeah, my company is worth $3 billion now, and you just, one day.
Yeah.
Even that pivot was crazy. That entire pivot story.
Exactly. I think usually when companies are trying to raise money or trying to sell the company, there's a metric they follow for valuation. I think it's different in different industries, but usually it's users or projected revenue or already. So there's pre-money and post-money valuation. What the valuation they already raised the previous round at. So that's the bar.
Correct.
Usually. So there's different ways they usually look at to do the valuations.
Right.
Not sure how they did it for Windsurf. But more interestingly, how did you get Cursor?
Yeah, so recently there is the you're talking about the student thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, there is the courses for students now. So you get, as a student, you get Cursor for free for an entire year, and that's insane. That is probably one of the best things that they've actually done. I think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of it. I think there's going to be tons of people who are going to be probably abusing that, and yeah, 100% just genuinely insane. I got very lucky for actually being able to still have a valid student email to get the Cursor thing in.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of Trae? I genuinely wanted to ask.
Trae is, so that's the thing, yeah. Windsurf, Cursor, Trae, all of them are very, very similar to each other. I think that the best vibe coders in town are the ones who don't necessarily choose one and stay with one. I think that this is a market that does not have any loyalty in it.
Is it because it's commoditized?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not just commoditized, it's also because it all performs the same function. In the end of the day, it grinds down to the culture, what kind of platform you're most comfortable with. I think that's where Cursor did a really good job at forking VS Code really well. I know they're all for VS Code forks,
yeah.
but Windsurf and Trae have their own spin to it.
Right.
But Cursor literally looks
Is
like
VS Code.
they're you know what, it already looks fine. I'm not gonna aesthetically change anything, but I will, focus on the core functionality. I'll focus on user privacy, which is something that Trae didn't do. This is also something that we learned about recently, which is Trae.
They train.
Yeah, Trae uses your code to train, the models and stuff. So
it's not secure.
No.
But the user experience in Trae is insane.
It is.
It's so clean. It's so neat.
What are some of the features that you would probably want to see? I feel like all three of them have a lot of interesting features that I wish some of them did combine.
Is there anything different between them? So let's say there's a feature in Cursor that's not there in Windsurf. Is there something like that?
I think there is one in Trae that I wish was there in Cursor. I'm not sure if it's there in Cursor or not, but Trae has this feature where you can add your terminal problems to chat, immediately. It's add all problems to chat. I think that's Windsurf actually, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's either Trae or Windsurf for sure. And you can just simply add all your problems.
You don't have to highlight it and select it.
You don't have to highlight it and select it.
Okay.
That is such
I think on Cursor you have to highlight and select it if I'm not wrong. That's how I do it.
Exactly, that's how I do it as well.
So
That's
on
kinda nice.
Windsurf, how is it? It just comes on your chat?
Yeah, I think it's on Windsurf itself. Yeah, it's just like add all these problems to Cascade, which is their chat thing.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Interesting.
Trae is, I mean, all of them have the same UI. I think Git and everything is pretty much the same. Then I think it's just a matter of which one has the better models, which one is more intuitive, better for understanding your code context. Oh yeah, Windsurf has that ranking system.
Their context is.
I don't know
insane.
how much that helps though. I don't
I
know.
think it's all under the hood, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So we don't know exactly what's going on. But Cursor's context is also like insanely good. I don't think it's any less than Windsurf.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like really good. I don't know how they do it though. It's probably rank, but like really, really advanced rank.
And at the same time, the way they're able to achieve the maintaining it in like a local this thing is insane. This is, I think, something that Nvidia tried to do as well initially.
Right. The
But
coding thing?
The coding thing. I'm not sure if they really succeeded or not. But
Interesting. What do you think about Lovable Bolt? Is it like, would you use Lovable Bolt the same way you're using Cursor, or is it like two different use cases?
no, it's a good question. Bolt and Lovable are pretty front end centric. You know,
Okay.
like focused on designing front end stuff. Would I use Cursor? I feel like Trae and Cursor and all these vibe coding platforms
Right.
have reached a stage where you can probably do the same thing. I think what you achieve from Bolt and Lovable is the editing capability. It's more visual and you're able to select the components you want to change. And in that sense, yes, it's a little more advantageous. But with Cursor, you're gonna have to manually, you know, like tell it like, oh, you have to, the more descriptive you are, probably the better your changes. But even that, I've not really
So I
found
think
much success with.
it'll be like, if you're not a developer, if you have no experience coding,
Yeah.
then go for Bolt or Lovable. It can like easily render stuff. Like
Yeah, if you
If
know
you-
what you're doing,
if you know
definitely go for
if you know
Cursor.
how to use the terminal, if you
Yeah.
know how to use VS Code, then probably use Cursor to
Exactly.
do the front end itself.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And by the way, for people who don't know what Trae, Cursor, Lovable, Bolt, or any of these random terms we're throwing is, they are basically just coding platforms that developers use for
Coding.
coding.
Yeah.
Trae, Windsurf, Cursor, these are very, very, very popular, very recent platforms that's come out for us developers to basically create applications. Now that's where all your code resides, and when we talk about an application, it's just a bunch of lines of code, and that's kind of where it sits. So yeah,
They've made the job much easier.
so much easier. Oh my god. And oh yeah, little more context. We both are professional vibe coders. we in the beginning didn't have any understanding of any kind of code. Uh, we like there were times where we didn't know what a terminal was. We didn't know how the coding files work. We didn't really know anything. And from there, it's a very steep learning curve. But you gradually start picking up on small concepts. You start picking up on the languages. You start picking up on general structures of how developers code. And we're not like reached a stage where we'd
You're
say,
professional
yeah,
coders.
I wouldn't say we're like job ready, but we know enough to spin up an application ourselves for sure. And I think that's the most dangerous part about this whole thing, that this is really leveling the playing field now. Give it like a few more months, it's going to be even easier for anyone to code. Like, I don't remember, there's a lot of people who mentioned this. English is starting to become the new coding language. It's very interesting.
I'm trying to think from more market side of things. If everybody can code, what happens to the developer
The
world?
economics.
What happens to tech products itself? It's a very confusing thing, because the traditional mode for tech, other than distribution or something or network effects, has been the fact that it's actually hard to develop a product. you need like a bunch of engineers. If you're like, even if you're like developing a simple working application, you need a few back-end engineers, front-end engineers, and stuff like that to actually do it pre-whiteboarding, pre-cursor and all. Because you have to manually sit and code. You have no LLM to like help you or stuff like that. Nowadays, if one person who doesn't even know how to code can design a front end using AI, can code the front end using AI, and get a back end ready also. That's like a few people's actual work. They spent years studying how to do that. They have like years of experience knowing how to do that. This guy is nothing. He comes and does that. Where is like the moat for the person who actually built this thing? It's just like anybody can come, build a great application, has great features. They have found product market fit. Users love the product. Anybody else just can come and code the thing. They don't even have to be developers, and that's really scary for people who I personally think have done all the hard work to find that product market fit. They've got the secret sauce for that particular product. Someone else just comes and easily steals it.
This is something that Sam Altman was talking about in a podcast. It's not podcast, in a TED talk. And he was talking about how we need to start rethinking this whole idea of intellectual property.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah. So he was talking about how I think you know that really famous guy in TED who always like he's like the main speaker. Forgot his name, but they were having a conversation about images, and I think it was ChatGPT or some model that created an image of like a Snoopy comic. I think you know about right Snoopy the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they made a Snoopy comic, and he was asking, so how do creatives deal with this era of AI being able to copy you and your intellectual property? And Sam didn't really, I mean, I don't know what his answer was. A lot of people are saying he had a very defensive answer. But I liked the point that you mentioned, which was you need to start rethinking, like we need to start rethinking what the economics of how we measure the value of creative output. Now, when it comes to code, when it comes to art, when it comes to all these creative fields, it's a very controversial topic actually, of how we are going to see or how we see the future to be for how these things should be measured. Right? How do we actually decide that this is mine, this is yours, and because I can draw something very similar to that, I can code something very similar to your code. Where do we draw the line of this is yours and that is mine? Right?
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to measure. So, and it is a pretty fundamental problem right now, and I don't think we have a solution for it right yet, but it's probably something that people are actually in dialogue about, you know.
It's going to be a difficult thing to solve if coding is this democratized. Because
but even then, I think if you look at the case studies, for example, how Windsurf came to be, they were like you said, a deep GPU processing company, right?
For cars.
For autonomous cars. Now, from that, they had the back-end engineers. They had I don't think they had much front-end, or I'm not sure, but they had really, really skilled workers. And when they knew they had to pivot, those skilled workers applied the same skills into something else and used it to their leverage actually.
Right.
They created an application that is with the wind, not against it.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So I think that they're actually in a better position. I mean, yes, the playing field is leveled, but they're in a better position because they have the experience. So the initial developer, the ones who are like starting to pick up on code and starting to still understand these things, it hasn't reached a level where tomorrow I can gain the same experience and same knowledge as a backend engineer. There is still always that learning curve that exists. And I think that is currently the only thing that is differentiating an already existing, really experienced developer versus a really fresh, I don't know, a random guy, no coder who is trying to code.
Do you think this experience will be needed, or this learning curve will be needed for you to like build a full stack application in like a year or two? Like, would you have to learn coding to actually use AI to code?
Today, yeah, probably.
Today, yeah.
Today, yeah.
For sure.
But in the next few years, I doubt it, bro.
Like, you don't have to like know React or Vite or
Mhm.
anything to like do a front end.
I don't think you would. Yeah.
I think the AI will handle most of the things themselves,
Yeah.
and maybe like explain the frameworks to you in like simple English or something.
Yeah.
But I doubt even then you need to know that in the future. Right now you have to know it. Like, there's so many gaps with bold, cursor, lovable.
Exactly.
You can't like just code something and deploy.
Yeah.
It's going to be like it's going to like blast with the first user.
Yeah.
No, so
Yeah.
right now.
Oh my god, that's a huge topic, by the way, which is pushing vibe code to prod.
It's really
Vibe-
good for cybersecurity view.
Yeah,
Right?
this
It's
is
the best time to become a cybersecurity
best
engineer.
time. If you're in that field, it's insane. Like, there is no doubt. Because vibe coders don't have no idea what the hell they're doing. They have no idea if their code is secure. They have no idea what the security protocols that should typically be there in place. And I think this is the biggest vulnerability right now for most developers who
It's
are
like a
getting-
gold mine for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
One of my friends, he's just graduated cybersecurity,
Mm-hmm.
and he was asking me, do you think the space? I don't know if the space is interesting.
Bro.
Do you think? I'm like, bro, like you're like in the midst of something that's going to like be
Explode, yeah.
Exactly, it's going to be huge right now.
100%.
Like people are going to like screw themselves again and again and again and again with the vibe code they've done.
100%.
It's going to be like really, really good for cyber. They're going to make lots of money. Think about it.
That is insane.
Lots of work also to do. But I personally don't know much about cybersecurity, so I don't know how the entire thing will work.
This is actually one field I'm very interested in. I can really see, like, there are a few things that you can very safely bet on in the future, and that's probably cybersecurity and AI, two very big fields. What about entrepreneurship? What is your take on that?
I don't like the word entrepreneurship. FYI, my degree is in entrepreneurship. My degree has the word entrepreneurship in it, so it's very ironical. But I like, for some reason, I don't like even like the word itself is like so gimmicky. I think what it implies is if you actually want to do something of your own and provide value to the world, instead of actually like just climbing up a corporate ladder. That's how I think about it.
But the freedom to do what you want and make money off of it.
Yeah, it could be anything. Tech. You can have anything. But simply calling yourself an entrepreneur, like emphasizing more on the fact that you're an entrepreneur than on what you're doing, I think is like a litmus test of you're like really trying to fool yourself. I think you should just focus on doing whatever you're doing and not even care of what you are. You like typically when you like start something, people call themselves an entrepreneur, but they're
And all these
everything.
labels, yeah.
Yeah, like in the beginning you're a marketing, you're in sales, you're the developer.
Yeah.
Forget developer, you're front end, back end, cloud, everything you're yourself.
Yeah.
And people call themselves an entrepreneur. I'm like, just like do the work. Just don't think about the entrepreneur thing. I think maybe because I see so many people like really admiring to be an entrepreneur and stuff like that without actually the thing.
I think it's because we've also like really idolized existing entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
They're, like the moment you hear entrepreneur, you hear like there are a bunch of names that come in your head. All those names extremely successful, high status people, and you don't really, unless you get into it, unless you know the space for yourself, unless you actually do something, execution, unless you actually execute.
That's more important than the label.
Because otherwise you're just going for the gold, the glitter, the glamour. You're not.
Oh my god,
actually-
you're an entrepreneur. I think when people call themselves an entrepreneur, like an existing entrepreneur, I think they already like
There's a feel good factor to it. No?
they're like I'm already successful. I think that's why they use the word probably. They're like I'm an entrepreneur. So I think they won't like portray to other people here I'm successful. But you have not done jack. Like there's no execution.
I mean, this is again just a disclaimer for all the people who are entrepreneurs here watching this. We have nothing against entrepreneurs.
The word itself.
Yeah, just a general terminology.
So I think maybe that's why people like call or they admire to be an entrepreneur. They're like the entrepreneur word label itself defines success most of the time, and
But I
Makes
have
no
an
sense.
immense amount of respect for anyone who's ready to take that risk to go
Exactly.
completely away from the crowd, to innovate, to think, to just back themselves up at a time where everything is really, really uncertain and they don't know what they're doing and no one really knows what they're doing. At this stage, I think it is, you're just going to look back later on in life and realize, whoa, I am glad that I took that jump or that leap of faith.
Exactly.
And because you never know where it's going to take you. And that's kind of where everyone starts. In the beginning, like nobody knows what they're doing.
Exactly. It all like starts with some insight or something,
Yeah.
and then you start doing it, and then you realize your insight is BS, and then you should start iterating over it, and then
Yeah.
stuff like that. Really, really good podcast. I think.
If there is any suggestions you guys have, if there's anything you'd like us to talk about or you'd like to see, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.